Good afternoon, everyone. This is Robin with Robin's Creations, and today I wanted to share with you some alternates I made with the January Sending Hearts paper pumpkin, January 2021. So the first thing I did when I received the kit is I look at the card bases, and I love when they send full card bases front and back of printed what I call DSP, even though they're card bases. So the first thing I do is I know I'm going to cut these in half and at least double the kit in some way. But before we start that, let me show you some tips as far as stamping for this month's kit. So the only stamping we had to do was the heart inside of the foil, the foiled heart in that stamp set. And then they also gave the little collage of hearts and flowers, and I extended mine kind of going off the page. They just put one there, but I extended that. So let me show you a tip I did for stamping the heart. So for this I used the Stamparatus. Let me get out my tags that I was working on stamping, and I set the heart inside there. Now, sorry, I didn't have any more. I've already stamped these before I started. And I put that in the corner. And then I do my best to set the stamp on top of the gold foil in the center. And then I pick it up with one of the plates. And then I get a clear piece of acetate or something that I can erase. And I set that there so that I can do a test stamp of is my heart in the right position. And as you can see, it was. So I didn't even have to adjust. I was lucky and got that one first time. I know this is smudged, and then be careful you don't get this all over your work surface because it stays wet for quite a while. This I did several days ago, and I can still see that it's wet, but I saved it so you could see how I use my Stamparatus. So then I quickly just stamped all the hearts. I did ink it up with my full-size ink pad, but you could easily use your spot in the kit. And then let me give you a tip for these. So a lot of people don't like that they stain very well. Well, I did all 4 hearts, and then I immediately take it to my sink and rinse it off, and I wash it with some Dawn. I used direct foam, and let me tell you, it came very clear. But again, it doesn't damage your stamps if they're stained. I just like to try to keep mine not stained. So just thought I'd give you that tip with Dawn soap. It's amazing what all you can do with Dawn. Okay, so here is the heart used on the cards. So while I have the Stamparatus out, let me also show you what I do with the tags. So I'm going to remove this plate. So a lot of people may set their tags and go, oh, I'm going to start with that one. Don't start with that one. It's too close to the hinge marks and it may not stamp all the way. I would go with one out of the way. I think I actually turned mine this way when I set up the plate. Ignore this other stamp. That was for another project. So I set it on this plate. And again, I set the stamp in here using the guidelines from this deluxe foam mat, which I totally love. All right, so I do it in there, and when I have the deluxe foam mat with these lines, I do a test shot. I take the label out, and then I do a test stamp just right there onto the deluxe mat to see if it's lined up. And I can actually do that for you. I'm going to use Memento ink just because it shows up really well. All right. I know I'm going backwards with that one. I guess I can turn it this way so it wouldn't be upside down. Okay, and then I can see it's lined up pretty well. I mean, I could adjust it, but I'm happy with that, so I'm not going to mess with it. It's at least centered this way. It may not be completely straight, but to the eye, I think it's great. So then once you have that, you'll want to clean it off, and I just take a squirt of water and a paper towel, if I can find one. Well, that's good. All right, found one. Take a paper towel, wipe that dry, and you know you're ready to go. All right, I'm just gonna unink that so I don't get that all over the place. All right, so that's how I do my tags. Now when I get my few small group in my house of paper pumpkin, what we'll probably do is set up mine and 2 others, and that way we can stamp all 3 at once. Flip it, do all those 3 at once until we have all of our tags done. All right, so that's all with the Stamparatus. So I'm going to put that away. Okay, so now that you have your heart stamped, I wanted to show you that I do usually create one card exactly as I say. And this one as well. This uses the mailbox, and this uses the heart piece. Again, this one I did the black a little closer. I think I like that look better than this, but whatever distance you like there. I did move the love down just because I didn't want to cover up my heart, and I stamped this in black, which I think I like. I did a few others in red. I think I prefer the black, but again, that's your preference. So let me show you one easy alternative over here. Let me grab it. So I took this, whoops, little washi tape there, and I matted it with some Poppy Parade cardstock, which is one of the colors that matches the kit. And in case you're wondering where you can find that information, it's on the back of your instructions right here. It says coordinating colors: basic black, gold foil, petal pink, Poppy Parade, smoky slate, and white. So all I did was mat this heart piece, and I think I like how that adds just a little bit to it. And if you don't have the cardstock in hand, you can use one of the envelopes. They provided the Poppy Parade envelopes. Let's see if I have one. Anyway, they're solid. Excuse me, this is in a cellophane, so it might be kind of shiny. And you could take one of these envelopes to use for that, and then just substitute in a plain white envelope if you're going to mail your card. Okay, so that's an easy alternative. But before I glue all the pieces down, I'm like, you know, these cover a quite big area of your DSP. So I found that if I take my rectangle dies and use the 4th one in, that can cut out a part of this DSP. So I take my card base that I've already cut in half, and I'm not going to do this for you, I was just showing you that you can. And so then I cut out that much of the DSP. All right, so I set this aside to use later, and then I looked at this one, and it's more of a square, but it's a little more rectangle. But the smallest rectangle was very skinny to get, so I looked through my dies and I found the Stitch So Sweetly dies. And I used the second one in after I've matted it with the red, and go, you know, that's a pretty good amount of cardstock to save. So I cut that out of my pink, and I don't have a sample of it already stamped out. I've used it on my card that I'm going to show you in a minute. So then I have that piece to use as an alternative. And no one but you and I know that we actually cut that part out of the DSP to use as an alternative card. Okay, so let me get on to those alternative cards. So that piece that I took, you know, that's this piece right here. And I did mat it with a retired embossing folder that was hearts, but you could easily add interest by using any of our current embossing folders, or if you don't have a Big Shot embossing folders, plain white would work. Okay, and then I had a retired heart punch. I didn't have the new punch either, so I just used it, and I did emboss it with a new Tasteful Textile 3D embossing folder to give the heart a little bit of interest. Okay, and then I used this die from the Tasteful Labels die, one of my favorite in the new catalog this year. I love all the different shapes. So I took this, and I needed a small sentiment to work with that, and I found that the fancy label punch works great. So let me give you a tip also with this fancy label punch. So you'll notice it has the label shape, and then it has a slit and a dot that you could either run twine through or ribbon through. So it's like this. So if you know you just want the label, you're going to want to cut a thin strip of white cardstock. That way when you go to punch it, I think that's centered. You just get the label, and you're not wasting a whole bunch of cardstock. Ooh, how much I got that right on the edge. Punching the dot and the ribbon slot. So there's your tip for that. Set this aside. All right, if you're wondering what this is, I create this for my Paper Pumpkin subscribers so that they have a place to keep their stamp sets safe, and then I set mine in a little tub all lined up by date, and so this way they'll know what they have. I stamp the images on there for them, and they really like having that to store it. So I'm going to get this away because it could be shining. Same thing with the instruction sheet. All right, so that showed you how I use that cutout piece. The cutout piece for the pink that I said I used this die for, from the Stitch So Sweetly. Let me give you one other tip. So when I get these dies, I do put them on a magnet strip, and then I write somewhere that there's 10 dies. Because if you're like me, I get cutting things out, I set them down, and so I know before I put it all away that I need 10 dies. So there's a little tip for storing your dies. All right, so I took that shape, did it very similar to this, set it there. This time I punched a Poppy Parade. I did not emboss this heart, just didn't do it. And I used the same labels, just in a different color. And I have a mini heart. By the way, there's a 4-pack of shapes in a mini punches, and a heart is one of them. It's not this exact heart, but I bet it would be cute, and what a great deal on the clearance rack. I'm going to set this in my box so I don't lose it. So there's 2 alternatives using just a front of a card. Again, I did add my own petal pink cardstock here in Poppy Parade. So with just a few minimal supplies, you can recreate those. All right. So let me go on to the next set of alternatives I did. So I really dug into my arsenal from my craft room, and I had these, I believe it's called Bloomin' Hearts die set. And so I thought they would work perfectly with this kit. I know it's retired, and again, you could probably just stamp another heart on a piece of scratch white paper or whisper white paper. Oh, excuse me, now called basic white. And add that heart from our stamp set here instead of this big heart. But anyway, this is what I did. So I took, again, we'll say the back half of the cardstock, and I cut it in half so that I had another half, and then I cut it at 4 and then 5 1/4. And when you're done with that, I'll show you the one. You're going to have a little piece like this, and I'll show you what I did with the piece of red that's like this. I haven't used this yet. All right, so again, all I did was cut those at 4 and 5 1/4, and then I cut a strip off, use it at the bottom, use the other part here, and I did the same thing with the petal pink card base after I did that. And so you swap them. So you still got 2 cards for just using 1/2 of each card base. Okay, and again, these don't have to be Valentine cards. Don't, you know, even the sending love, where did that go? Ending the love you, I mean, that could be anything. You could tell a friend you love them, thinking of them. Let me get the pink one, especially this sending love your way. That could be if someone was sick and you just give them a get well. It could be a thinking of you, anything. So don't limit yourself to, oh, this is a Valentine kit. Again, I used an old stamp set that said happy anniversary, so I can use these as anniversaries. Again, I did a strip of that retired embossing folder that I cut there. You could just use a plain piece of white or anything to separate the gap of where those two cardstocks meet. All right, so what do you think about those? Okay, so now one last thing I wanted to show you is I took the strip. Now I gotta find that little strip of pink. So this was on the red card left over, and I did sacrifice one of my mailboxes, and I said, let me see how it looks with just that leftover strip. I put the mailbox there, and I used some Poppy Parade cardstock out of my stash, embossed with that same one. I did the heart, the Tasteful Textile, and again, I just like embossing all my cards because it just gives them so much more dimension and texture. All right, so then I created another one with that. If you've already used your mailboxes, I bet you could stamp the heart on a scratch sheet of paper, and it wouldn't be gold foiled, but you could stamp your collage of flowers and hearts there and put that there, and that would make a very cute card. Then you could add a sentiment down here or something to cover that up. So that uses that piece. So I'm sure I'll be creating something with this little strip. So watch my blog. I'll post all the pictures for these, but I thought the best way, rather than just post pictures of them, was to give a little tutorial of how I created all my alternates for this month. So thanks for stopping by and watching me. Check out my other videos. I only have a few. I'm new to this. And thanks again for stopping by. Bye-bye.